You're listening to the Hot Takes Podcast. I'm your host, Will.
And I'm Chris. We're going to start today's podcast off with a what-if scenario given to us on Twitter by @NoBarsTorado. The scenario is, what if the Browns trade for Odell Beckham Jr.? They get two of the top LSU receivers, reunite the two amigos, OBJ and Jarvis. Do you think that makes them a playoff team?
Yes, but if Tyrod's their starting quarterback the whole year, if a rookie quarterback, wink, wink, Sam Darnold, is their quarterback, then no. I think with those receivers, veteran, they could get to the playoffs.
I think I agree with you, but not for the same reasons. My reasons being that I don't think that the Browns' problems stem from their quarterbacks or any of their players. I think it stems more from their coaching staff and their internal, the people who run the show.
Ownership, yeah.
I think they are the problem. The Browns have been in the dumpster for what, like 10 billion years now? I mean, they've had a plethora of first-round picks, high first-round picks at that,
yeah.
And they still can't make it work. It's not the players, obviously. It's the coaching staff and beyond.
And it's also, like you said, it's them, like, pretty much taking the wrong players. I feel like every year, it's another quarterback, whatever. Even this year, it's the same thing. But for the record, the last time they were in the playoffs was 2003. But I feel like if they have Jarvis Landry, OBJ, and don't forget Josh Gordon.
Oh, yeah. Don't forget that guy. That guy's a stud.
Do you think that, like, I don't know. I don't see how you say they wouldn't make the playoffs. I just feel like Tyrod Taylor, a veteran quarterback, mobile, and you have three receivers. I mean, that's those three together, man. That's toe-to-toe, like, on paper at least anyways, the best receiving core in the league.
I mean, I agree. That could be the best receiving core in the league. But at the same time, defense wins championships, and their defense still has quite a bit of holes they need to get answers for. And like I said, I don't think they're a playoff team. Kill me for it. They got to get through Pittsburgh. Baltimore. Baltimore's not a great team anymore, but they're still, Baltimore. And I think there's a lot in their way for this to just make them an automatic playoff bound team.
Yeah. So more on OBJ. Reports just came out that the Giants are requesting that they would trade OBJ for nothing less than 2 first-round picks. If you were, obviously you'd have to be in the wide receiver market. Let me throw a team at you. If you were the Cowboys, Jerry Jones, he likes that, seems like it'd be a Jerry Jones type of move. Was that something that you would do? You have a later draft pick. Would you give up 2 first for OBJ?
I mean, I understand the Giants asking 2 first for OBJ, but as the team that's going to buy the product, look, I'm a huge Odell fan, as you know. I think taking on Odell is a lot. He's got the media issues. There's gonna be swarms of media everywhere. Jerry Jones loves that. So I agree with you saying it's a Jerry Jones move, but there's a lot to take in. He's got his anger issues. He's definitely a personality, and you've got to control that. So 2 first-round picks seems a little bit much to me. I think 1 first-rounder is good. I think hypothetically, like a team like the Browns, giving them the 4th pick overall would seem fair enough. Maybe a first and a player or a first and a later round pick, cool. I think 2 firsts is just too much for him. And at the same time, they've said, quote, unquote, they're not shopping him around. So we'll see what happens with this OBJ situation. I would love to see him move. He needs to change the scenario and a team that's going to use him the right way.
We'd like to thank @NoBarsTorado again for the scenario. We're going to be moving on. We're going to discuss, as free agents pretty much wrapping up, we're going to talk about free agency winners and losers. I know we have some different opinions about who won and lost free agency. Chris, why don't you go ahead and give me one of your losers for free agency?
My loser for free agency is going to be Seattle. They lose Richard Sherman, top 10 corner, top 5 corner in the league. They lose Sheldon Richardson, great defensive tackle.
He went to a great team.
And they lose Michael Bennett. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. These guys all have personality issues or quote, unquote, personality issues. But they were a core to that defense. Seattle was known for defense. When you think about Seattle, you thought about the LOB.
Defense first, then Wilson.
Then Wilson. And now you're losing those guys. you're putting a lot on Wilson's plate, and Wilson already had a lot on his plate to begin with. So to add this to the list of losses that they've taken, it's gonna be a lot for them, and I have them as a loser for this. Some people may not agree with you. I mean, you obviously don't agree with me, so why don't you let me know what you have as a loser?
One of my biggest losers is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They got to the AFC Championship last year without Allen Robinson, and then, as we know, he went to Chicago. But then also losing Allen Hurns, I feel like, you could have had those guys back. You go off of a year where, you were almost to the Super Bowl, but you lose them, and it's like, well, I mean, I guess they're going to move on in the draft. So, in my opinion, I see where you're coming from with Seattle, but I feel like as long as they have Russell Wilson, they'll honestly be okay. But to me, my biggest loser is the Jaguars. On the winning side, I'm going to go ahead and skip the Browns as a winner because I think that's kind of like a clear winner. I'm going to play a team that you wouldn't really think about. I'm going to say the Bucks as one of my winners. They traded for Jason Pierre-Paul. They signed Bo Allen and Vinny Curry from the Eagles, and they totally revamped their defensive line. They got Gerald McCoy right there with them. I'm going to put the Bucks as one of my winners. Who do you have?
Just real quick to add on to that Bucks thing, I get, making their defense great. I just don't see how that's going to solve their offensive line problems. Oh, my God, I can't even remember their quarterback's name. Jameis Winston.
Nice.
Yeah, he was hit a tremendous amount of time. Was actually injured for a good amount of the season last season. Yeah. And that's where I think they should have focused. I mean, maybe they hit it in the draft. Who knows? But anyways, my winner for free agency is definitely going to be the Los Angeles Rams. Ndamukong Suh, Marcus Peters, Aqib Talib, and you can throw in Sam Shields in there if you want. Mm-hmm. These guys, okay, this Rams team was already up and coming with just the team they had.
11-5 division winners.
Oh, don't forget that they kept LaMarcus Joyner.
Yeah,
I've got them as the winners. They already had a great offense to begin with. They add these guys on defense, Sue and Donald. Hoo-wee. Man, they are going to tear it up. And this, I'm going to say it right now, the Los Angeles Rams have the best defense in the league, hands down.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one.
Okay, let me hear what you got.
You want to hear my best defense in the NFL?
I want to hear, yeah, let me hear what you got.
Okay, since we're on the subject, no disrespect. Sue, Donald, great combination. But have they played a game together yet? No. On paper, great defense, yeah. I'm going off of what I've already seen. Okay. I think the best defense in the NFL, no bias. I think the best in the defense in the NFL is still the Minnesota Vikings. Case closed. Hot take.
See, I want to add to that real quick. The last showing the Minnesota Vikings defense had was not a very impressive one.
Oh, jeez.
If you want to ask me. I mean, the Minnesota Vikings did not look great on defense. So until you show me otherwise, I got the Rams as the best defense in the league right now. That is a no-fly zone.
Okay, well, that's a good argument. I can't really argue with that. Last time we were on the field, we weren't on the field. So
yeah, basically.
All right. More about free agency winners and losers. As I said, the Bucks and the Rams. I'm gonna mention this because I know you'll probably appreciate it. Actually, as one of my winners, I have the Patriots. They kind of did the same thing as the Bucks. They improved their defensive line by getting Adrian Claiborne, Danny Shelton, Malcolm Brown coming back healthy next year, along with their first-round pick from last year who was hurt.
Oh, Derek Rivers, yeah.
So I feel like more like the Patriots getting the D-line fixed kind of makes more sense than Tampa because, like you said, with the O-line problems. But I still have Tampa as a winner because they totally redid their defensive line, and I feel like New England did a good job. I know there was a lot of criticism of them not making a lot of moves, but I feel like they made some good necessary moves.
I mean, I completely hear you on like I said, on the Bucks thing, I completely hear you. They made good moves. I'm not saying they're bad moves. I just think they could have focused their cap space elsewhere.
You're saying it was a good move, but they could have made a better move at another position.
Basically. There were better moves to be made.
All right, moving on. Recently, the NFL committee voted on a rule change where it is now illegal to initiate contact with your helmet. An example, Ryan Shazier's hit to Josh Malone, the Bengals wide receiver, would have been a penalty. Chris, do you think the NFL is making it more difficult for defenders to tackle or make a hit in general?
You know what? This rule is actually the first rule that not only makes it harder for defensive players, but it is making it harder for offensive players. When you see a fullback, make his block, get his initial block, what's he doing? He's dropping his head down and moving that guy out the way. How's a running back gonna initiate contact now? This is gonna affect a lot of people. And like, I know everybody cares about player safety, and I know I'm gonna sound a little bit harsh when I say this, but it's football, people. It's a contact sport. You knew what you signed up for when you got into this game. I get it. It's player safety. People want to see the players. Nobody wants to see what happened to Shazier again, but I'm just saying it's football.
Well, I mentioned if it was a penalty at the time that it happened, do you think that would have kind of been like, I guess, disrespectful if Ryan Shazier was laying there and then they threw a flag at him?
I mean, I yes and no. At the end of the day, like I said, it's football. There's one thing I want to add to this rule. I've been saying it for a while now. The NFL should be able to review these helmet-to-helmet calls. A lot of the times, these hits look vicious, at first glance, and these refs are quick to throw their yellow hankies out the way. But in reality, you go back and watch the replay, there's no helmet contact whatsoever. It's a shoulder to a high shoulder, and it looks vicious, and they react. They should be, and these are penalties that affect the game in a big way.
What I want to know is if you're not able to do that like if I'm a safety and I'm trying to break up a pass, that's literally what I was trained to do. If you're a linebacker, you put your head down a little bit and you lean with your shoulder. Excuse me. What I want to know is, how are you supposed to go about it?
Yeah, I don't understand. This is gonna, and it's the running joke that the NFL will eventually become a flag football league with the way things are turning.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I don't want to like be vulgar, but the NFL is literally making it like a pansy league.
Yeah. It's the league gets softer and softer every year, and I get, like I said, I get it. It's about player safety, health first. These guys are putting their lives on the line.
But like you said, also they know what they're signing up for.
Yeah,
that was a Terrell Suggs quote from the other day. He said, "This is football. I know what I'm signing up for. This is football. You know what you're doing. You know that you're gonna get hit. You have a helmet on. Some people act like it's so, like barbaric, but I don't know. I just feel like a penalty like this, at first it may seem insignificant, but I feel like it's really going to affect the game in the wrong way, where, it's going to take like the true football fans. I feel like Roger Goodell tries to focus more on stuff that like the casual fan will like.
Yeah.
But like the diehard fans, we see it and we're like, dude, what are you doing? That's just ruining football.
Yeah. No, he's appealing to the families now. He's no longer appealing to real football fans. This is what's going to make money. And again,
Exactly.
We know that's what the point of the league is, to make money.
He's trying to avoid like future lawsuits. Pretty much.
Basically. He's trying to save his own rear end.
Yeah. And also at the owners meeting this week in Orlando, they made some significant changes to the catch rule. It was a 32-0 vote about the catch change. And also, Chris, I know this is you're going to be pretty sensitive when you talk about it because it affects something close to you. Why don't you go ahead and tell the people?
I mean, I just think it's ridiculous that this came out. And I think it's ridiculous that nobody is outraged but me and maybe other Patriots fans and people that have been affected by this. The officials in the NFL have basically admitted that they used the new catch rules that were recently voted on yesterday. They used those new catch rules in the Super Bowl. They called it legislation on the fly. And those new rules helped Philadelphia win. If you used the old touchdown rules, that would have meant that 2 to 3 of Philadelphia's touchdowns would have been taken away. And who wins that Super Bowl if that happens, Will?
I believe that would be the Patriots by default.
And this is my thing. My outrage isn't that they did that. Yeah, I'm upset. I'm just outraged that if this was the other way around, if New England won because the NFL changed rules on the fly for them, everybody would be crying that they're the cheaters and that the NFL loves them. They paid the refs, and I just don't get it. You know what I mean? There's so much bias towards hating the Patriots, when in reality we should just love sports as a whole. You know, what the Patriots have done is a very impressive thing, regardless of any team. You know,
I just want to point out that I get it's a Super Bowl, and there's billions of people watching, but to change a rule on the fly for the moment, how is that respecting your job and respecting the game of football? That it's a Super Bowl, it would make a good ratings or whatever if this was a touchdown, because I believe it was Wendell Smallwood and Zach Ertz's touchdown.
Corey Clement,
excuse me, not Wendell Smallwood. Those touchdowns were the controversial ones in the game, where you said if it was the new rule that they just approved, that it would have been a touchdown?
No, they used the new rules, which is why they called them touchdowns. If they used the old
So what
rules,
you're saying is they used a rule that wasn't a rule yet,
yeah,
and made it a touchdown.
Yes.
So technically, the rule didn't exist on the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So technically, it shouldn't have been a touchdown.
Exactly.
So I'm just so mind blown that these refs admit to that, and they pretty much admit that, okay, this isn't the rule, but let's go ahead and call it like this.
Yeah, and I think it's ridiculous. You know, you should keep the game. Like you said, it's the Super Bowl, the biggest game of the year. Why change the rules now?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you've got so much on the line for both teams, you know? I just don't understand why now.
Yeah. And it's more than just a game, I mean, the ratings and everything. I mean, everyone and their grandma watches the Super Bowl, but it's like for these players, that's literally like their work bonus.
Yeah,
that's their payday.
It's not that. It's also their end goal. You know, these players, the majority of these players play to get to the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
When that's your goal. You want to get to the Super Bowl and win the game. And to know that these refs and these officials are just taking it into their own hands and trying to do what's gonna make the game look better, it kind of sucks. You know.
I like to just make a quick quote to someone special. They know who they are, who I watch the Vikings games with. They always say, quote, "It's the damn zebras who control the game," end quote. And it's true that, how would you – I want to ask you real quick while we're on this subject. If you were a Patriots player, in all honesty, how would you feel knowing that you lost the Super Bowl and there was 2 controversial plays, and now that it's coming out that the refs pretty much called it the wrong way? How would you feel?
Yeah, I'd feel horrible, man. I'd be mad, and it'd be hard to play another game and have faith in these referees to call it the way they should. You know, it would be hard to know that you're gonna go out and play a fair game, because who knows? Maybe the refs don't feel like using the new rules today and they want to go back to the old ones.
Yeah.
So you don't even I think this is worse for the league than not knowing what the catch was. You know, now it's. Do you know what the rules are? Do you know what rules we're going to be using this game?
That's a great point.
You know? And the league should just stick to one thing and one thing alone.
I really like how you said that. Now, the new thing is not, is that a catch? It's going to be, is that the rule?
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm a Vikings fan. So when it comes to that Super Bowl, I was kind of biased but unbiased at the same time. I think that the refs just, for that, honestly, there should be a fine.
No, there should be some type of penalty, but guess what? There won't be.
It's just, I know I keep going on, but it's like, I don't know. If it was any other situation where it was like, well, it's not a rule yet, but I feel like it should be done that way. If it was any other job, if I were to do something like that at my job where I was like, well, you know what? It should be done this way. I'm going to do it. But it wasn't the rule. Yeah. I'd be in trouble.
Yeah, you'd be in big trouble. And in the NFL, it's the only place where you can get away with doing stuff like that. And I know there's going to be some people listening here, maybe some people close to me, that are going to listen to this and cry, "Oh, but the Patriots are cheaters. They cheat all the time." Grow up. That's all I've got to say. Grow up. They play by the rules, and do they walk on that line? Sure, but they're still well within the rules.
And you're going to get that with any sport, with any team that's dominant, and any team that has like a quote dynasty. There's always gonna be oh well, they did this or they did that, and it's like, well, like you said, now that the tables were turned against the Patriots and there was something that favored the Eagles, and now that it's even come out and confirmed that if something came out that benefit the Eagles, you don't hear anybody, oh, the Eagles paid the refs. Oh, the Eagles did it. But God forbid it was the Patriots. That's all you would hear. Oh, Brady cheats. He can't win without cheating. I don't mean to go on a rant. It's just, I don't know. It's just as a diehard football fan, it makes me feel like, what are you guys doing? Like, this is your job to know the rules, to call the game fair, and half the time they don't. With more than just a catch, but with pass interference, half the time you don't know what pass interference is anymore. Half the time you don't know what they're going to call. I feel like, everyone criticized the refs back when it was the replacement officials, but it's like you still have the same problems now.
Yeah, I mean, at least the replacement officials had an excuse.
Yeah, they were a replacement.
These are people who have been in the business for years
like 20
now.
years.
And I mean, what's the excuse? What's it going to be, And it sucks. And I know I sound like I'm a whiny Patriots fan who's crying over our loss.
A little bit.
Just a little. But it's to the fact of being a football fan. You want to watch a good, clean game, Like, yeah, you don't want a game where there's going to be flags nonstop. Thank God Ed freaking steroids Hockley's out the league. But, you also don't want a game where they're not going to call anything at all, And it's just like, at the end of the day, the NFL's games are going to be it's going to be so hard to tell what you're going to get. You're going to watch one game at 1 o'clock, there's going to be no flags. You watch the 4 o'clock game, flags galore. 8 o'clock, 2 flags.
Exactly. The primetime game will have no flags. Everything's a touchdown. But the 1 o'clock game that's on, Telemundo, there's going to be, 17 flags holding on every play. They'll actually call it, like, down the line.
Yeah, I mean, I just wish the league would get their officiating straight. Or just maybe remove officials from the game overall. That's it. That's it.
Make the coaches call the flags.
Yeah, Harbaugh would have a great day with that.
All right, we're going to move on before we rant too much. It's going to be one more topic from the owners' meeting that went on here in Orlando. They voted that if there's a game-winning touchdown, that no extra point is needed. Perfect example, Saints, Vikings, NFC divisional. Stephon Diggs, game-winning touchdown, the greatest moment in the history of our country. Scores the touchdown. Time's run out. They had to bring people out from the Saints locker room to kick the extra point. Totally irrelevant. It was a 5-point game. There's no way any lead change could have, been made. Do you feel like this is a significant rule? Do you feel like it's a good rule? Just let me know what you think.
I think it's a good rule. I think with the old rules being, they have to finish, they have to kick the field goal. It takes away from that emotional win,
Exactly.
You kind of like were on this emotional high.
The legit walk-off.
Yeah, literally, it was a legit walk-off, and you have to come out and kick a field goal. It kind of takes away from the emotion. And at the same time, it benefits both teams. The winning team can get straight to celebrating, and the losing team can get right on out of there just like they wanted to. Do you think the Saints wanted to walk right back out and watch the Vikings kick another field goal? I don't think so.
Well, that's why they sent their punter out.
Yeah.
On that lineup. Also, what I want to say about that rule change, do you think, because they said that if it's a game-winning touchdown, then no kickoff or extra point will be needed. What if the touchdown puts your team up by 1? It's a game-winning touchdown, but should they allow the extra point to happen? What if there's a block?
If there is time on the clock, they should let it happen.
But
I think in the Minnesota, that scenario, there was no time on the clock. It had hit 0. There's no point for the field goal. The game's already over. Yeah. They weren't going to win because of that field goal. They had already won. So there was no need for it. As long as there's time on the clock, they should get a chance.
So if you feel like the score is like, 23-18 and you score a touchdown and it's 24-23, you feel like the game should be over, no extra point, even with time being expired.
With time being expired, yes.
But if you were the other team, what if you felt like, if they kicked the extra point, we could potentially block it?
I mean, hypothetically, or you could easily be the other team and just pretend like you're going to go for 2 and spike the ball.
Or the Vikings, did they just need it?
Yeah, they could have easily taken a knee and nothing happens.
Exactly. So. Yeah, that's a good point, too. The team that just scored to get the lead could be like, you know what, we're not going to risk that. We know what's at stake, too. We'll just knee it or throw it away or punt it or whatever. All right, moving on. This is going to be our last subject for the day. Johnny Manziel throws at San Diego State Pro Day and also throws at Texas A&M Pro Day to Christian Kirk. Chris, I want to ask you, is Johnny Manziel worth signing? He'd be a cheap option at quarterback. And also, your Patriots are bringing him in for a weigh-in. Do you think that's a potential Tom Brady backup?
Look, I look at Johnny Manziel as a high risk, high reward. Johnny has a history, but recently has come out that he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and he took responsibility for his actions. He seems like he's matured a lot, he's grown up a lot, and I think he's ready to come back, and I think he would be a great option. And I know people are gonna be like, oh, well, if you bring Johnny back, why not Colin Kaepernick? Well, because Johnny Manziel had a decent season his first year, then basically got kicked out the league. Colin Kaepernick had 2 pretty sorry years
After his Super Bowl run.
And then the events that happened. I think Johnny Manziel would be a great option for anybody, but I do think he's one of those guys. I think he needs to sit and wait. Though he's 25 years old, that age is gonna get to him eventually. I do think he needs to sit and wait, and I think I would love it, absolutely love it, if New England picked him up. It's a strict organization. It's gonna try to keep him in line. They're not gonna baby him, but they're also gonna try to keep him in line, and he gets a chance to sit and learn behind possibly the greatest ever.
To your point, I just like to point out, not possibly the greatest. I mean, I'm not even a Patriots fan. He is the greatest. Anyways,
I just have to sound biased,
Yeah. I feel like if Johnny Manziel goes to a team, it's got to be a team like that. I'm not saying I would want him to go to the Vikings, but if he went to a coach like Mike Zimmer, a coach like Bill Belichick, even I just think of like strict coaches, not necessarily the best fit, but like Bill O'Brien. I feel like Johnny Manziel's got to go to a team that can keep him in line. I mean, I feel like if he went to a team like the Jets, or if even he's already been there and won't go back, but if he was on a team like the Browns, it's like I don't think it would work out.
Yeah, it wouldn't benefit him or the team. Like, back to going back to his draft day, his original draft day, I think the Browns made a huge mistake by moving up to get him. Johnny was a kid who already had all this attention, who already had all this weight on his shoulders, and then you're gonna go move up, get him, and expect him to be the answer in a place like Cleveland. That's not. It's not only him that's had the problem there. He's not the one guy that couldn't solve it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with Cleveland and quarterbacks, it's a never-ending story.
Seriously.
But back to when he was drafted, there was the people that wanted him to go to the Cowboys, stay in his home state, but there was people that said that would be bad for him, to stay around like the same people in the same area where he had already been getting in trouble. What I want to know is, I wonder if Dallas, now that he's cleaning himself up and the way Jerry Jones runs his organization, if Johnny Manziel is someone they would want to sign.
I mean, I could see the love from before, but I don't think it makes sense now at all. You got Dak Prescott, who's a young guy. He's got a lot of life in him. I don't think there's a reason to bring in Johnny Manziel. And realistically, if we're going to be 100% honest here, I think Johnny Manziel is 100 times better than Dak Prescott.
I agree.
I mean, Dak Prescott's not going to teach Johnny Manziel anything.
No, if anything, it would be the other way around. I feel like Johnny Manziel needs to be given another opportunity. I don't know what else he has to do. He's come out and he says, he has bipolar disorder. He's cleaned himself out. He's going to play in a spring league in Texas, which is going to be awesome to see him in full pads again and playing in actual competitive games. I feel like, comparing him to Colin Kaepernick in the situations, oh, they need to play, they're not playing. Johnny Manziel had off-the-field issues. He went and he took care of. And now he's trying to make a comeback. That's nothing you should hold against him. I feel like he should be given a chance. And I know you're going to agree because we both feel the same way about him. I just feel like, what else does he have to do?
Yeah, no, I agree. And back to that Colin Kaepernick thing. Colin didn't get cut by the 49ers, as many people who want to believe. He asked to be released. They wanted him to compete in a quarterback competition, and he wasn't having it. So, I mean, realistically, do I think Cap should play? Yes. I think Cap deserves a chance to play on another team. But, sometimes you put yourself in these situations. Cap is now suing the league. Would you go to work if you were suing your boss?
No.
Yeah, like I don't get how people want Cap to go back so bad. Does Cap even want to go back at this point?
I mean, look at all the publicity he's getting from, his protesting. Would it even make sense for him to go back? I'm pretty sure he's fine. That's why, going back to Manziel, I feel like it would be more rewarding as a fan to see Johnny Football back.
Yeah, I think Kaepernick has gotten the attention that I'm not saying he needs attention or wants attention, but he's bringing attention to a subject that needed the attention, and I think what he's doing is great. And I think, no offense, he should stick to that field because he's fighting for a great cause. Is he a great athlete? Of course, but fight the cause, fight your fight, man. And I want to see Johnny back.
That's going to actually wrap up today's podcast. For more information on upcoming podcasts and more about what we're going to talk about, you can follow us on Twitter at Hot Take Podcast. I'm your host, Will.
And I am Chris.
And we will see you next time for our next podcast.